Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So here we are at the beginning of March already. It just seems like yesterday that I was doing my reading plans for February, and February seemed to have flown by. So I wanted to go over my reading plans for March. So I have planned to read at least 8 books. I am taking a little bit of a vacation at the end of March, just before Good Friday. That week I'm taking off of work, so I might get to more books, but I'm not going to put any pressure on myself to read more than what I already have planned. So I'll just go over what I have planned, but if I get to any more books than I have planned, then of course I'll go over those in my monthly wrap-up. So the first 2 books that I have, I'm not going to go over any synopsis because I recently hauled these, so I'll leave a link down below for my most recent book haul, and there's a synopsis in there for both of these books. So the first one is What Big Teeth by Rose Szabdo, and of course this is a new release, just came out in February. I know this is one that's on a lot of people's TBRs, or it has been for February, but I haven't heard any wrap-ups yet or reviews, so I'm excited to get to this one still. And then the next new release is The Burning Girls by CJ Tudor. Again, I went over this one in my most recent haul because this book just came out and I had it pre-ordered. So excited to get to this one as well. I have quite a few new releases in this month's plans. So these 2 are new releases in physical books, and then actually I think all of the ebooks that I have planned for this month are releases that are coming out either at the end of February or early March. The next one is The Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. And these next 2 physical books I picked because I was just looking for something that was, you know, kind of whimsical and cozy, and just, you know, a cozy middle grade spooky or horror or whatever you want to classify it as. So again, I went over this one recently, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, this revolves around a young boy, and he makes some friends over the summer, and they form a club basically that's headed by this young boy's uncle, and he has an interest in all things occult, so they form the Saturday Night Ghost Club. And it starts out just being kind of a, you know, a fun thing to do together, but as they start going along, they start uncovering things that they never could have imagined. So again, just, you know, a whimsical, cozy kind of middle grade book, so looking forward to this one. And then we have Small Spaces by Katherine Arden, and this one I hauled quite a while ago. I think it was back last summer, and this is another one that's just kind of a cozy middle grade, and it sounds so fun. So this follows a young girl named Ollie, and Ollie loves to read. And one day when she's out for a walk, she comes across a woman who is crying, and she is about to throw a book into the river. And of course, Ollie, being a book lover, snatches the book from the woman and runs away with it. So as she starts reading the story, she starts learning about a girl named Beth and her siblings who meet a sinister figure called the Smiling Man. And the Smiling Man grants wishes, although as we know, it comes at a heavy, heavy price. So Ollie still has this story about the Smiling Man, who I would assume is this figure on the side here. And the next day she goes on a field trip with her class to a local farm called Smoke Hollow. And she discovers headstones that actually have the names of the people who were in this story that she had just read the day before, and she starts wondering, like, holy cow, is this story true? And of course the farm is surrounded by sinister scarecrows. So when Ollie and her class leave the farm, the bus actually breaks down, and Ollie and her teacher, and I believe some other kids, go back to the farm for help. And besides the bus driver being a very creepy dude, it also says, With that, a deliciously creepy and spine-tingling adventure begins. And this is just a little book. Like I said, this is just a cozy little middle grade. And I've read some kind of longer, more heavy books recently, and so I just needed a little bit of a palate cleanser. And I've heard some good things about this book. You know, it's probably nothing going to be anything earth-shattering, but I think it's going to be a fun read. So next up on ebook, I have Shelter for the Damned by Mike Thorn. And this is a dark coming-of-age story that revolves around a boy named Mark. And he is, you know, I guess a normal kind of teenage boy. He's a little bit of a delinquent. He doesn't get along with his parents, and he's just trying to find somewhere to hang out with his friends. So one night he and his friends come across this shack in the middle of the woods, and so they decide to use it as their hangout. And after a while they realize that the house or the place that they're staying in wants something sinister in return for the shelter that it's offering to these young boys. And it says here, Shelter for the Damned is not only a scary, fast-paced horror novel, but also an unflinching study of suburban violence, masculine conditioning, and adolescent rage. So, coming of age story that has to do with a creepy place in the woods, I'm all about it. So this is a brand new release. I forget the date that it's actually coming out. I'll put it down here. And yeah, this sounds really, really good. So next up on ebook, I have Children of Chicago by Cynthia Paleyo. And this is another new release that's coming out that's really, really hyped. And this is basically a modern day retelling of the Pied Piper, but it takes place in modern day Chicago. And this follows a female detective who is investigating the serial murder of local children and teens by obviously a serial murderer, and he's referred to as the Pied Piper. And as this young detective is investigating, it's basically the same sort of calling card that happened when her own sister was murdered years previous. So she knows that this Pied Piper character has returned. And it says here, this horrifying retelling of the Pied Piper fairy tale set in present-day Chicago is an edge-of-your-seat, chills up the spine thrill ride. And it is one of the most anticipated crime books of 2021 according to Crime Reads. So this is another book that I'm hoping that it lives up to, you know, it's supposed to be really, really fast-paced like the other ones that I said were supposed to be fast-paced. So I really have high hopes for a lot of these reads that are coming up in March, especially these new releases. They sound really, really good. So the next up on our list is Later by Stephen King. So this one is a really, really hyped release, of course, and this revolves around a young teenage boy who has an unnatural ability that his mother tries to keep under wraps. She doesn't want him telling anybody about it. She doesn't want anybody knowing what he's able to do. But he actually realizes that he can help out with an NYPD detective who is on the trail of a killer. And it says, this killer who has threatened to strike from beyond the grave. So a little bit of crime, a little bit of supernatural horror, I think, here. So like I said, this one is really, really hyped, obviously being the new Stephen King. And I'm kind of getting Firestarter vibes from this one with just the, you know, I don't know if it's PK abilities or whatever is going on here, but as soon as I read the synopsis, I started thinking about Firestarter. So we'll see if this one actually lives up to the hype as well. So the last one up on my TBR is Our Last Echoes by Kate Alice Marshall. And this is a story that follows a girl named Sophia, and Sophia has a memory of when she was a young child, and the memory is that she was drowning in the ocean before her mother pulled her to shore and disappeared herself. But Sophia's always been told that that never ever happened, and she's never actually been to the ocean, and that her mother died years previously before Sophia could even remember. So Sophia gets an internship and goes to Alaska and starts work for a company that was the same company that her mother worked for before she died. And while she's there, she meets another girl named Abby, and between the two of them, they start investigating disappearances that are surrounding this area in Alaska. And it just says here, in 1973, 31 residents of Bitter Rock disappeared. In 2003, so did my mother. Now I've come to Bitter Rock to find out what happened to her and to me, because Bitter Rock has many ghosts, and I might be one of them. So just from that synopsis right there, I think this is going to be another one that's a really, really interesting kind of mystery, and trying to find the breadcrumbs going along to figure out what exactly happened in this place. And so high hopes for this one. I've never read anything from this author, and honestly, I haven't heard this book being mentioned on anybody else's lists so far, so high hopes for this one as well. So there you guys go. Those are my March reading plans. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below, because you know I love chatting with you guys. Let me know if any of these new releases are on your TBR for March. But until next time, stay spooky guys. Bye.